One.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chalk Talk. We're going to go ahead and go over the DFS slate, the Sunday slate. If you're watching this on Saturday, hopefully your Saturday games are going well, and you watched our last Saturday DFS video. We'll go ahead and break down. We have a 3-game slate. This is, it's a little bit different than a 2-game slate. You have those extra 2 teams, but I still think the strategy is almost identical. Really, you're trying to target the game and just the teams that have the most points, and that's obviously that's obvious, but you're really trying to overly stack those teams compared to some of the teams I don't know, the Steelers are on the slate, and I don't know how many of those guys you want, but it's about I think you gotta fade. You pick your spots and fade them and really go in on your takes and just get as many different variations of them as possible. So we'll start off.
Well, hang on. Before you start going into this, this really, for 3-game slates, depending on what type of player you are, if you are a casual player who's just trying to have some fun, don't be hurting yourself and entering into large field tournaments. Because if you're just trying to casually play, $1 tournaments or $1 or less tournaments, look for the ones that are single entries and attack those games. That way,
maybe less people. Maybe instead of going with 90,000 people, I know people chase those top heavy prizes, but it depends. Yeah, like you said, it depends on the player you are for sure.
Yeah, so just keep doing do that and build your confidence and build your bankroll that way as well, because like we said a couple of weeks ago, more people are playing DFS now because of fantasy football is over, so there's going to be opportunities for you to win money, but stick to what you're comfortable with. Don't be clicking on game the Millie Maker and be oh, look, all these the top 1% can get. It's for you to do that, one, you have to be extremely lucky, and
you're also competing with tons of pros that are playing 150 lineups.
Yeah, so their bankroll is massive and they're doing everything they possibly can to win. So just keep that in mind playing in these tournaments.
Yeah, I would say if you're more risk adverse and you're okay with playing a really low owned guy, you can enter those large field tournaments with even one entry. Just if you have for example, if Deshaun Jackson was on the slate, no one plays him, then you can really separate yourself. But if you're more someone that likes to play the chalk, the good plays, just focus on maybe 1,000 entry field.
Yeah.
I think that's important on these slates, depending on the type of player you are. So we'll go ahead and start out. I like on these short slates, I always just, instead of talking about favorite plays, I like to just talk about your favorite stacks. We always, with your quarterback, I think there's one quarterback on this slate you can get away with maybe just stacking with one player instead of 2, but I still will probably go at least 2. Probably not 3, and the player's Jalen Hurts just because they're mobile. I don't think I'd go 3 with him because of his upside on the ground. But I still think all the others you probably want, Ben 2, Jimmy 2+, Dak 2+, and Mahomes 2+. Or if you go Brady, also 2. They're all more pocket passers that to get there, you're going to want to stack them with 2 to 3. And yeah, so we'll start off. This is how we usually do the small slate. So Corey we'll talk about our favorite stacks, and then we'll go through some of those low owned plays to get you different. So Corey, what's your favorite stack off the bat?
Initially, just looking at it, Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is probably one of the better plays. So we talked about for Saturday slates, quarterbacks with rushing upside, they're basically two positions for one. So, Jalen Hurts at 6,100, it's going to be very hard to not have him in most of my lineups, just for the fact that Tampa Bay, yes, they have a good rushing defense, but they're not good against mobile quarterbacks at this point in time. So it's a spot where, the Eagles are just happy to be here at this point in time. This is a rebuilding year. So I wonder how their game plan going in. Obviously they want to win the game, and that's everyone's goal in the playoffs, obviously win the game. But how much do they put in Jalen Hurts' hands? do they ride their defense and Jalen Hurts and they just try to run the ball in the Bucks, or do they get down and they let Jalen Hurts throw the ball and use his mobility to beat the Bucks? But for stacking purposes, like PB mentioned, with Jalen Hurts, you're only going to need one or two. You can go three, but three is pushing it because the Eagles pass catchers, there's like two. It's Goddard and Devontae Smith, and Devontae Smith is kind of like up and down this entire year. So I don't for purely passing options, I think I'm going to go with Dak Prescott here with his stack. I do think the 49ers end up winning this game, which then plays into my scenario of thinking that Dallas will be playing from behind. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Dallas it's going to be back and forth. And when it comes down to it, third and fourth quarter, Dallas is going to be playing from behind. So I like Dak, going Dak. And then, CeeDee Lamb, he's only 6,300 this week, which is
so cheap.
It's very cheap. And the 49ers secondaries, it's been good for most of the year, but they are banged up and they're not fully healthy. So Dak to CeeDee, and then so obviously they're without Gallup. He tore his ACL. So now you have Cedric Wilson sitting at 4,300. Dak went to him a lot last week, playing against the Eagles. So it makes you kind of confident in him, but at 4,300, he might be, highly owned there. I love Dalton Schultz. I think he's been good all year. At 5K, he's pretty pricey for a tight end. Let's see here. Last time the Cowboys played. Oh, the Cowboys haven't played 49ers. What am I thinking?
Are you worried about the matchup with the 49ers for Schultz?
See, I would be, but like in my head, I think it's going to be a pat. Like, I don't think the Cowboys get there running the ball with Zeke and Pollard.
Yeah, I get that. I just like they're weakest against receivers, and I think they're like top 10 at least against tight ends. There's obviously tight ends that have gotten their way with them, but overall they've been decent.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I like where Dalton Schultz is. He's basically the third receiver there now. I know Wilson is sitting there, and
I think he's still ahead of Wilson.
Yeah, and I think he goes to him, and like especially in the red zone, like they have CeeDee Lamb like 1-on-1, but like I feel like going in the red zone is where Dalton Schultz can really thrive here, and I like a back and forth game here. So that's probably my favorite stack is it's gonna be Dak, CeeDee, and then going with Dalton Schultz, I think, at my initial first look here.
Yeah, so we're on board on this slate because Dak's my favorite quarterback, and it's probably going to be a mix, like getting two. I think I like going like I'll have definitely some Schultz lineups, but I like a lot of the other tight ends more than Schultz. Like we have some amazing tight ends on the slate, and matchups, especially like Kittle at only $800 more than Schultz. I find it hard not to pay for him. And then even you have Kelsey at 6,700 is a big discount off of like where he typically is. And then Gronk, who I'm never that big of a fan of, going against the Eagles, which, as we know, if you have played tight ends against the Eagles all year, you've just printed money because they've just given it up every single week. Like even like last week, I know we didn't know if Dallas is going to play like the whole game, and they ended up doing it. And there's Dalton Schultz, 2 touchdowns. Like they just can't stop it. And now with so many of the Tampa Bay weapons gone, like I just think he's set up well. And so it's just hard for me. And then Dallas Goedert, I think, is like just as good or better of a play than Schultz, and he's cheaper. It's hard for me to get to Schultz. So my favorite way to go with Dak is like Lamb and Cooper, or Lamb and Schultz, or Lamb and
Wilson,
Cedric Wilson, or like Amari Cedric Wilson. I would say Lamb's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think he has the best matchup. And then I, of course, will include running backs in there. Like we know Zeke and Pollard do at least catch the ball. So they're both fair. Like Zeke's at only 6,100. I hate playing Zeke. I won't have as many combinations with the running back with that stack, but I absolutely love the receivers with Dak this week. And that's like where most of my double stacks I think are going to be at the receiver spot. So yeah, and I like the only quarterback that I'm fading on this slate is Tom Brady. They have a horrible weather game. I think it's not like horrible, but it's going to be like 30-mile-an-hour winds with 40-mile-an-hour gusts, rain. And Jalen Hurts, I think, like this, that helps the Eagles because they'll run the ball anyway. But I'm including, like, I'll have some Mahomes. I think in order it would be Dak, might be Jimmy G second, just because I think I like that game the most. And he's really cheap.
Yeah.
So I think it's like Dak, Jimmy G, Mahomes, Hurts, Big Ben. Obviously, I won't have much Big Ben at all, but this is a slate where I'm not like, I think they're all good prices, and I can't really fade anyone except I think Brady. I think he is definitely a good fade. So, are you playing Brady?
You're just like it's
But
just
listen,
known fact. No, I understand. We're playing. We're not talking about like the game. We're talking about players within the game. It's it's Tom Brady, and I understand what.
are you gonna play any Brady lineups?
I probably will play like
And the other thing about Brady is I hate his options. Like the only option of his that I like this week is Gronk. And I'm not single stacking Brady. I think Evans is a terrible matchup. The Eagles are like have like a top three. Let's see, against wide receivers, the Eagles have been top three.
Yeah, no, I understand. But
they're gonna, and Evans didn't do anything when Godwin and I think maybe AB played the last time they played. Like I just don't think Brady has that much success, especially now with some weather.
So Evans went 2 catches for 27 yards.
And that was with other guys there. And now they're just gonna be able to focus on taking him out. I think that's why I think I like Gronk, because I think Gronk, the Eagles are already bad against tight ends, and now he should get fed. So
yeah,
I like Gronk, but I'm not doing a single stack with Brady and Gronk. So
yeah, I mean,
that's just kind of where I'm at with.
Yeah,
stacks.
I mean, I'm not suggesting like just you can't. I mean, it'd be hard to get away with getting a single stack in there and then picking the other pieces. But I mean,
I don't think any quarterback is going to get that like over-owned either. Like I obviously think Mahomes and Dak will probably be number 1 and 2. But like people are going to want to play Brady. People are going to play Jalen Hurts. People are going to play some like it's going to be pretty spread out at quarterback, like ownership wise. So now that we kind of went over our stacks, now let's go through like what we're going to kind of do at the running back position. Like where are you there's a lot, there's no like super expensive running back on this slate. It almost feels like DraftKings made it to where like you can really play kind of whoever you want. And I think they did that on purpose just because they didn't want you to struggle to make lineups.
Yeah, no.
They didn't like look like Najee was in like the 7-8K range all year. Zeke was in like 6, like Elijah Mitchell, like all these Lenny Fournette 5-6, like all these guys are priced so far down.
Yeah, I know. It's actually shocking. And then also it's also shocking is all the questionables and outs that have already been established. Like Ronald Jones is out. Leonard Fournette's coming off a terrible.
Ronald Jones is out.
Yeah, Ronald Jones is out.
Okay, Edwards-Hilaire's out.
Edwards-Hilaire's out. Darrell Williams has been limited all week. I'm assuming he's playing.
Yeah, he sounds like he's playing.
But like, so after that, I mean, you got okay. I mean, do we go back to the well here? I mean, Miles Sanders at 5K. It's a terrible matchup, and I don't suggest.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
But what I'm saying is like, there's not like it's a very sketchy running back slate, in my opinion.
I think there's some great options.
No, okay, so there are good options here, but like, okay, so Leonard Fournette he's a game time decision with a hamstring injury. So what happens if he goes in and it's a wet field and it's the field conditions are gonna be terrible there? So what if he goes in?
He'll be the most popular running back. So if you have a take on that, maybe
I don't know. I find it hard to play someone coming off a hamstring injury. I understand he hasn't played for like 4 weeks, but in a field in a game that's going to be wet field, terrible conditions, I'm scared to play someone with a hamstring injury. Like he
Okay.
could easily re-injure that throughout.
Okay. So what about Daryl at 5,200?
So I feel more comfortable with Jared Williams because it's not a
I love Daryl Williams.
I do too. And the thing is,
think about 5,200 and they're 13-point favorites.
yeah. So if you don't think Mahomes is going to get there, you think
Mahomes could get there and Daryl could get there.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like he's probably gonna be very popular as well because of the matchup.
I think Lenny is still like, as long as Lenny's active, he'll be like 50+% owned.
Yeah, and
if not more.
And I think I'll not full fade him, but I'm gonna try to stay away from him because I
If
just
he's active, it's gonna be hard for me not to have a ton of him. But
wait. What about your boy Lev Bell sitting at 4,700? What if he's the starting back? Bruce Arians goes, all right, Le'Veon Bell, he's been here for 4 weeks. He knows the playbook. He's starting. Would you have any interest in him?
If Lenny Fournette's out and they announce Bell as a starter and Ronald Jones is out, then yeah, I mean, I don't know why I would have to, because he'd be the lead guy, and you'd have to expect in a weather game he's going to get a bunch of checkdowns. So I would definitely have interest. I just don't necessarily think it happens.
Yeah, no,
I think I would just go other like. So let's see. I mean, Pollard at 5,300. He's tough just because he would be the better play when all these guys are priced up. But now with them all being like the same price, it's way different. So he's not there. Like him and like Miles Sanders, I think aren't nearly as strong of plays. So it's like Darrell Williams, Fournette, and then I don't know. Najee Harris is still like, he's so cheap for his workload. 6,600 for Najee.
And you expect them to be trying to keep the ball out of the Chiefs' hands, but we've witnessed this last time they played, and
that's just ridiculous.
I mean,
like
even last time
for that price.
I mean, last time they played, he went 19 for 93, no touchdowns, but he had 5 receptions for 17 yards. And we know Big Ben cannot throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field. He's like the Philip Rivers of last year.
Yeah, he scored 16 and 7 more yards. You'd get the bonus to be at 19 with no touchdown. Najee gets a touchdown, like he's golden. Like he's a really good play, I think.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So we've kind of been bouncing around here for the last 5 minutes here. Give me your top 2 running back plays right after that.
I'll go just with the Lenny Hammy thing, and I know Daryl's probably definitely playing. So it's probably Daryl number 1. Lenny's gonna still be number 2 for me if he's active, and then Najee just number 3.
Okay. So I'm with you with Daryl at 1. Especially with the game script that we're expecting that the Chiefs will be blowing the doors off the Steelers. Yeah. So you're going to want to be playing that because they're just going to burn the clock out and just keep the ball out of Pittsburgh's hand. So Daryl number 1. I guess I'll go Najee at 2 for the fact that the volume, strictly only on the volume only. I don't think it's, the greatest spot for him because I think they're going to be playing from behind. I know he catches the ball in the backfield and he literally is on the field like 98.5% of the time.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'll go Najee at 2. And then 3, I want to say Elijah Mitchell. I know it's not the greatest matchup, but I think this is an indoor game. There's no weather involved. And I think it's
why I love Dak, like, and Jimmy G. They're like, I think they're set up so well, like in the dome.
Whew. Yeah. So this is why I think this is like it's going to be one of my favorite games because, well, it's probably going to be a lot of people's favorite games because I think it's going to be the closest game out of the 2 or out of the 3. So Daryl, Najee, and then Mitchell. I think Mitchell could go overlooked for some reason, just because everyone thinks Dallas defense is the greatest thing.
Yeah, it's looking like, let me see what ownership's looking like. So yeah, Fournette number 1 ownership, then Najee. Elijah Mitchell's coming in at 3, then Daryl, then Zeke, Miles Sanders at like under 15%, then Tony Pollard under 10, and then that's pretty much it. But
what's Lev Bell at? Just curious.
like less than one.
I'm just saying it could be a flyer.
But that's like with him being active. Like obviously he's inactive, then boom, Lev Bell or whoever they announce as a starter goes way up.
Yeah. But all right,
But
let's move
yeah,
on to receivers here. Because this is where it's gonna get this is where
yeah,
in these tournaments or in these smaller slates, this is where you win. This is
yes, this is where you find the hidden gems, the low owned receiver that blows up the slate. Always happens. It's almost always at the receiver. You don't see like you know, some like third string back that's like nobody has really like blow up the slate. Like that's not normally what happens. It's a receiver that just goes overlooked. So what do you think? Oh, sorry about that. What do you think? What do you think, Corey?
I mean, we've already kind of touched on it. CD Lamb at 6,300, especially for stacking him with Dak. I love CD Lamb this week. You know, even if you go down to Cooper Cup, I think it's still a good option here. You know, 5 for 7, 79. In his last game against Philly, CD, you know, he didn't really play, so can't really do too much there. But CD is the one who's getting the volume for the most part in that receiving option, in that receiving room. So I like him there. And then I'm just like, this is like the third time I've looked at this, and I understand Claypool hasn't done anything all year, but at $4,700 for the number 2 receiver there is kind of mind blowing because Claypool does get like 3 or 4 shots down the field at like 25 plus yards. And if he can come down, and usually Big Ben is pretty good at throwing it, it's one-on-one coverage, and he's a big body receiver with great speed. So if he can get one, and you know, you think they're going to be throwing the ball because they're going to be playing from behind most likely. So I don't mind Claypool at 47. And then also Deontay Johnson, he might be one of my favorite plays for literally the fact that his favorite route is the drag route, and that's a 4-yard route across the middle. Big Ben throws him that ball all the time. So again, I know we
always when you play teams like Chiefs, Bucks, or whatever, these high scoring offenses, and you know they're playing from behind, it's always great to target that passing offense. And we know Big Ben will go out. Like didn't he already like tweet something where it was like, we know we're gonna lose, or we know that like we're the worst team in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're just happy to be
having fun. And you know he's just gonna be out there just slinging it. Like he doesn't care. He's just gonna go out there just
I mean,
throwing the ball.
He's not putting up yards. I mean, but his last 2 games, he threw 46 times and then 44 times. And in those games they were winning.
Man, he is so bad. Oh, Big Ben, man. He like throwing the ball that many times and that few yards is like an accomplishment. Like that is hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this entire year where he's thrown more than 1 touchdown. That's crazy. That's
I mean, yeah, but this game, like, yeah, he's just, literally he knows he's just gonna give it everything he has. And maybe that Claypool catches that one that just lands perfectly in there. Juju might play. We don't know yet. That's going to be interesting because if he's a full go, I have quite a bit of interest at 3K. Like that's kind of that's a ridiculous price tag for him if he's like just not limited at all. But if they say he's going to be limited, that changes things for me. But I don't know if he's a full go for this all his snaps at 3K. I mean, my gosh, how do you not? I feel like it would be so hard for any of these other Ray McLeod, Jawan Jennings, Quez Watkins, Pringle. How would any of them outscore Juju? Like, it would be hard for me to imagine.
If Juju plays okay, so let's look at it this way. If Juju, they say he's playing, and they don't, all they say is he's playing, because if they're not going to say he's going to be limited because it's a playoff game. So they're going to hold that close to their chest.
I'm not going to go overboard either way on him. I'm going to.
No. I totally understand that. But if he's activated, so that means Ray McLeod gets bumped down to the 4th receiver per se, just on the depth chart.
Yeah.
But Ray McLeod last like
Yeah, he's
5
looked
games,
good. He's looked
8,
good.
3, 8, 10, 9 targets. Like, and the last 3 games, he's had 4 receptions. I mean, he hasn't gone over 40 yards and he hasn't scored a touchdown this year. But I mean, with that many, like you're getting that many opportunities to catch the ball, like there's a point in time where you're going to score a touchdown. And he's a
No,
fast
I
guy.
get it. I like Ray if Juju's out.
Yeah.
Like he's probably the best like sub 4K option. Okay, so we both like Lamb. We said that. I do agree with Claypool. I think he's like a guy that you'll really overlook there in that 4K range. I'm trying to think of like it doesn't look so like ownership wise, there's no really receivers that are gonna be like 50+% owned because you have Lamb, Cooper, Tyreek, Deontay, Debo. There's so Mike Evans. There's so many options that everyone's gonna have and everyone has decent matchups. Everyone's gonna be spreading it around, I think, and so that's good because we don't if someone like Lamb who on other slates could be like 60+% owned, we get an ownership discount on. But what are some of those off the wall plays that we think like this is where you just the slate breaker, barely anyone has them, you have them, and that separates you and you can take down the tournament. What are some of those options, do you think?
Well, before we get there, yesterday we were discussing, you're getting, well, I guess today as well, when you can get a player that essentially is doing 2 jobs for one single price tag. So for like quarterbacks throwing and rushing the ball, like they're priced there for a reason. So Debo Samuel, I know he's the most expensive receiver, but
Yeah, he'll be high owned.
I know he's gonna be high, like he's gonna be pretty high owned, but like when a receiver is rushing the ball 8, 7, 5 times and he's getting yards on that, like again, you're getting 7,900 and you're paying for essentially 2 players. So I will have Debo. I know we were just talking about our favorite plays. I like Debo a lot. He's 7,900, so he's going to make it difficult to get into a roster and have the higher owned people or the higher price people. So then going down to someone else, it's hard to get away from anyone from Kansas City because there's the third option there is a rotating carousel of players and you're just trying to figure out who it is. And they kind of narrowed it down to, it's either going to be
It's pretty much Ayuk and Jennings is the 2 and 3.
No, except for the Chiefs.
Oh, Chiefs. Okay.
Yeah. So it's either Hardman or Pringle. Hardman hasn't really done anything all year. Except for
last week when Tyreek was out.
Exactly. So if Tyreek's a full go, they trust Pringle more than they trust McCole Hardman.
Okay, so Pringle, you kind of like?
I kind of like Pringle at the 3,900 range, especially if we think
yeah, he looks to be pretty. Looks like around 15% ownership right now, but I could see that being closer to 10%.
Yeah.
What about someone like Tyler Johnson?
So
I think he's like someone on the Bucks that he'll be out of all Bucks players, he'll be like my most leveraged like Buck because Fournette, there's no leverage really. Gronk, probably not much. And I'm not playing Evans. And I think Tyler Johnson, if I'm not playing Evans, I still want at least one Buck receiver in my player pool. And I think I'd rather just go to the cheap Tyler Johnson and at 4K, who's going to be like under 10% ownership.
Yeah. Well, what about, during the Super Bowl run last year, Scotty Miller was a player that Tom Brady went to quite a bit.
But they haven't liked him at all. He like barely, they put Cyril Grayson ahead of him, Brashad Perriman. I'd rather play Tyler Johnson or Brashad Perriman.
Yeah, but I'm just like, he's been hurt for a lot of, like on and off the field with, injuries, but just thinking back to last year, I know it was last year and there's different game scripts and everything like that. If he's gonna be on the field, which he could be, I'm not putting him into every single lineup.
And with the win, so a deep threat like him is like makes me even more iffy.
But
30-mile-an-hour gusts, 40-mile-an-hour gusts, rain game. It's those deep threats really scare me.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like an Amendola for some reason. I don't know if because of his skin color, but he just he just reminds.
He's like insanely quick. Like
Yeah,
he's like their deep threat.
yeah. So I don't know. He kind of intrigues me at
Right.
3,500.
Brashad Perriman would be even more leverage because he's 4,600, so he's cheap, more expensive. No one's playing him, and he's going to be like under 5%. Like he's projected for like 3% ownership right now. And Perriman's the type of player that could, break one. But I don't know. Tyler Johnson, just because he kind of feels like he would be more in the Godwin role, those shorter passes, which would make more sense in a weather game with lots of wind. Like you'd think Brady would be a lot more check downs to Lenny and go into someone like Tyler Johnson. So I still am sticking to Tyler Johnson being my favorite, like
Yeah,
buck low owned guy. But I will say Ray is probably
yeah.
a pretty good option for on the Steelers playing from behind. I think he'd probably be my second favorite.
Yeah, I was going to mention his name again. I know we mentioned a couple minutes ago,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think. I mean, they expect Juju to be out the entire year. Yes, I mean, modern medicine's amazing and he's back and he's playing again, but it's like
AJ Watt, yeah.
It's I don't know. I feel like is he a free agent next year?
I think so.
They franchise he signed up 1 year, whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I don't know. I keep looking at Ray and I'm like, for the amount of work he's gotten and he's shown the coaches that he's a reliable option, it's gonna be hard to pass up on him.
Yeah, so I would say for those like for some of my favorite low owned leverage spots, Tyler Johnson and Ray. But I will say, like, I pretty much include all of these guys. Like, I'll have at least one share of pretty much every receiver, and hopefully just land the right combination. But I'll have more of probably Ray and Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, I would. My two would be Ray and then Pringle.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll go ahead and just build a few lineups with
You want to talk about tight ends really quick?
Oh, we can quickly discuss your favorite. I already kind of mentioned like mine are, I think, I don't know, Kittle's pretty hard. I mean, at 5,800, that's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I don't know. It's probably him 1, Gronk 2, maybe Dallas Goedert 3, Kelsey 4.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be. I mean, I think I'm going to be on the same sort of wavelength as you, but for some reason, I don't know why, but like I keep talking about Steelers receiving options, but like Firemouth at 4,200, he's
I like him a little bit. He'll be very low owned, I think too.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep talking about Steelers.
You're gonna have to play some Big Ben now.
Their team implied total of 16 points, and it's like,
yeah, so they're like projected for two touchdowns. But like we say, it's like on these small slates, we know these teams are gonna score touchdowns. So like even on the teams you like the least, like probably the Steelers, someone's still probably scoring. So and if they score, if someone like Ray scores, if Freiermuth score, if those guys score, it's likely that they could be the optimal guy. So you just have to, find the spot.
But looking back, Kittle at 5,800
that's so cheap for him. Like,
it is. I just hope they don't use him as purely blocking. But I mean,
no, I think against Dallas, they'll definitely get him involved passing. I think they used him a little bit more when Lance was in there as a blocker, but with Jimmy, they run him out wide a lot more. I think Cameron Brate is like my sneakiest tight end option. And it's because one, the Eagles are they're terrible against tight ends. And I do think the Bucs are going to have to run out more multiple tight end sets. And Cameron Brate, like he looks at him in the end zone. And I could see I feel like the Bucs aren't dumb. Like they know the Eagles are bad against tight ends and they're just going to game plan for this game. And I could see them really utilizing those multiple tight end sets this game. and you could see both Gronk and Braid out there a lot. So I think Braid is like an extremely sneaky option, and I will be like, especially because he's only projected at what, like 3% ownership right now.
Yeah.
You know that I will be way over the field on 3%. Like I'll be like
You'll be
10 times the field on Braid. So
Yeah.
it's just, I think he is a very sneaky option. So yeah, and I'll definitely be using plenty of 2 tight end lineups.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
they're all great options. So we'll go ahead and build some few lineups here with kind of how you should be building lineups with these shorter slates. So we'll start out with Dak or Mahomes, I guess, on top.
You want to start with Mahomes? Okay. All right. So with Mahomes, you're going to want to go, obviously we've been talking about 2-3 stacks here with a quarterback, especially not Mahomes is not a mobile quarterback per se. So do you like Tyreek or Kelsey better? I mean, going to Kelsey saves you, some 600.
I think I'd go Tyreek.
Yeah, I think I would too. Especially,
and I would also probably include Daryl.
Hunt, yeah.
Yeah, I just think Daryl is a good one because he does catch a lot of balls. And so you go Daryl, Tyreek, and you said you like Pringle.
Yeah, I out of like the lower receiving options for Casey, I think Pringle being 200 less, I think this is a misprice right here, just because of, I mean, they might have saw something.
And more people will go to Hardman based off of his game log.
Yeah, very true.
So
but,
maybe I much prefer Pringle.
Maybe they saw something in him last week. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, they're basically identical in like.
Yeah, but Hardman plays more of the Tyreek role when he's not in there. When Tyreek's in there, he just loses his role. So now we'll probably have to bring it back with a couple, 1 or 2 Steelers. So, I mean, it would be Deontay, Claypool. We don't need Ray because we have Pringle in this one.
Yeah.
We probably want at least one of Deontay or Claypool.
Yeah, I'd say Deontay. And then
defense. What defense do you want to do? We could go maybe.
Well, I think
I don't know, the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cowboys or Niners, but let's go Cowboys this one.
All right. 5,500. What's another running back? It would probably be Najee or.
Well, you want to assume Leonard Fournette is getting the most. It's just going to be these basically.
Yeah, let's just put Lenny in there. He is a good play if he plays. Okay, 5,400 left. We could get probably Kittle in there.
5,100.
And then we still have 5,100, and you could get in. What do you think, Dallas Goedert?
Oh, and do the double tight end. Yeah, I like that.
Tight end. I think that's a pretty sin leave. You leave 700. So you're getting different. Your leverage here is Pringle, and then double tight end, which people will do it, but I don't think people do it as often as they should. And of course, another leverage spot is including 3 guys with Mahomes and the running back, which people usually stray away from. So that's a pretty solid Mahomes build. You could always swap out like Deontay for Claypool and then upgrade Goddard to like Najee to like have 2 Steelers. So next one we'll do Dak.
Yeah, let's go Dak.
So Dak, you go ahead and this is when we like 2 receivers. So maybe Lamb and Wilson, or Lamb and Cooper.
Let's do Lamb and Cooper because I think that's gonna be a little bit more different.
Yeah, well, I do too. So now we should probably get either Debo or Kittle in here.
Let's go. Let's do Kittle this route just because.
Oh yeah, since we faded Scholes.
Yeah.
Defense, probably the Chiefs. I mean, I'm okay with eating some of that
Yeah.
chalk with the Chiefs.
And
The
then you
Chiefs
want to
are
go.
obviously the best defensive play. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty clear too.
Do you want to grab Williams here at 52?
Yeah, Daryl.
And then we need another
You
receiving
just put
option.
Miles Sanders in there.
Oh. Oh, wait.
Okay, so 56. Need another receiver. All right. Well, we still need our like leverage receiver guy. So this is when we could go either to Ray, Tyler Johnson.
Let's do Tyler Johnson call here.
Okay. And then we could go.
6,400 remaining.
We could get well, I don't know if I want Najee and Daryl. We could though, but maybe we go Lenny in that one too.
Right, Lenny. Just hard to not click his name, and then leaves you 7,200 left.
Which lets you do Deontay. You could get in Kelsey for another Chief. You could get in Gronk, but then you have Gronk and Tyler Johnson. But I guess that's fine. You can get Zeke. You can get another 49er in there if that Dallas game shoots out.
Yeah, let's do another.
So you'd probably put in what, Elijah Mitchell?
Yeah, I think so. And his tag just went away too.
Okay, and so then you leave 1,500, which is great. That's fine. You're fine. I don't necessarily. I think there's enough good plays on this slate that I don't think you want to leave like a ton of salary.
No,
But I think leaving like up to like 2,000 is still like doable.
I agree. I agree there as well. All right, let's go with a
Jalen.
Yeah, do a Jalen, and then we'll wrap it up with Jimmy G as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So Jalen, we want Devontae or Goddard. Devontae. Let's get. I think Devonta Smith will actually be really like a low owned guy. And again, I think the Bucks defense is terrible. So if we go Jalen Hurts and Devontae, I mean, we could do it with Goddard as well.
all right.
And then run it back with, this is when we definitely put probably Lenny in this one.
Yep.
Game stacking that. And we could do Gronk. We could do the double tight end.
Double tight ends. Okay. Defense.
Chiefs again.
Chiefs. Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard not to click on that name, especially with a 16-point team play total. So it leaves us 6,200 left. Let's go with.
We probably want to get a Cowboy in here. So whether that's a Zeke, Pollard, or Lamb or Cooper, I don't know, Lamb.
Yeah, let's.
You like Lamb?
Yeah, it's it's gonna be hard not to keep hitting his name and everything too. So 6,200 left. Let's grab a running back here as well to finish this off. I think here you can go. Dude, it's like we keep touching on the same names, but it's like they're in such good matchups.
Well, it's a short slate too. You're going to click a lot of the same names. It's just so many different combinations. You just swap this player out for this one. Next lineup, do the same thing, except swap this player out. That's just how it is. Sometimes, like, there's obviously like superior plays. So I mean, in this one we could go. I mean, Darrell Williams would be the easy choice, but I mean, instead we could go and get different with either Zeke or Elijah Mitchell or Najee. We could put Najee in this one.
Okay. That's what I was expecting us to do. And then receiver like for 5,900.
And now this is where, I mean, we are different with Devonta Smith a little bit here. And going, well, Lenny will be popular, but what do we have? 5,900.
Yeah, so I would say,
I mean, Claypool, but then we'd probably just swap Chiefs defense to
we need a 49er.
Yeah, we probably should. So what is Ayuk's price?
52.
We could put on an Ayuk. And there you go. You leave 700. And, I think having the combo of Ayuk and Devonta Smith
Yeah,
won't be very popular.
no, definitely won't be. And then okay, we'll do a Jimmy G one here. I see we're really not going to touch on Big Ben just because it's with, you don't really want to be attacking games that, like I've mentioned 4 or 5 times now with a 16-point team implied total. But like
Yeah.
if you are playing like the 25-50 cent tournament or multiple entries into tournaments, then yes, like go after and attack Big Ben, and you can be different there. And his receiving options aren't expensive. And you would obviously stack Big Ben with 3 or 4 different options because he's not going to get there any other way.
I mean, well, not maybe like probably like 2 or 3. I would say so. Like definitely one of Deontay or Claypool, if not both. Maybe have Fryermuth and then Raymond McLeod or something like that, or even Najee can be included.
Yeah.
I don't know if you go 4. That'd be really hard for Big Ben to support 4.
Yeah, I was a little overzealous there for sure.
He's done it before, but I don't know at this point in his career.
No. Okay. So
Jimmy G, with the Kittle's price, usually it's hard to do Debo and Kittle, but I don't think it's hard to do with Kittle's price now. Like when they were both in like the 7K range, it was, but I think that's perfectly fine. And I don't think Jimmy G is a quarterback you would do with Elijah Mitchell because they barely pass him the ball. So they're actually pretty negatively correlated.
Yeah, and with Debo being there, it's essentially a running back. So
yeah, exactly. He's kind of like another running back as well. So Debo, Kittle. Now we want to get probably 1 or 2 Cowboys. So we could throw in Cooper in this one instead of Lamb. Cooper. And then maybe we get Zeke in here.
You want to do Zeke one?
Pollard?
All right, let's do Zeke. I mean, I understand Pollard's 800 less, but
yeah, Zeke's probably
he's gonna be the better option here. And then let's
probably one of Lenny or Daryl.
I want to go Daryl here.
Okay, and then Chiefs defense, just throw them. They're just our placeholder defense. Like, I mean, you could. I just think they're a clear option. Now we have 5,200. Is there a team we don't really have?
We don't have any. We don't have any. Chief. No, we have a Chief. We don't have any. Bucks.
We don't have Eagles or Bucks.
You want to go? You're off the wall. Tyler Johnson play.
Or Gronk, or what if we did Brait in this one? Could we fit like Tyreek?
If we did Brait for flex, yeah, and we can get up to Tyreek for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a unique build too.
Yeah,
because it allows you to get like 3 of those stud guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential points on this lineup right here.
Yeah, I like that. That's an interesting build.
We'll save it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so I think that kind of wraps up this slate, kind of going over some strategy and how to build lineups on this one. It's usually the same with the short slates. It's just it's stacking. You can't really get away with your lineups are pretty much dead if you're just putting a quarterback in and not stacking them up. So definitely stack, and you should always probably run it back with some other guys on the other team, because if that's the game, or if that's the quarterback you're picking to go off, it's usually because of the game. It's the gut game environment as well. So game stack, and then just make sure you're always correlating and always grabbing leverage somewhere, whether it's leaving salary, whether it's getting that low on play no one else has, or the combinations of using like
2 tight ends,
or fading one of the chalky running backs. It's just you can't just be playing the chalk everywhere. You have 0 chance. It's again, they're dead lineups.
Yep.
So
if you to leave to before we head off here, if you think like, wow, this lineup looks amazing,
then it's bad. It's a bad lineup if it looks amazing.
If you question like one of your plays, then it's probably a little unique. So
like when I look at, it's not like I look at a Tyler Johnson lineup and I'm like, I hate it. I don't like it, but it's finding the leverage and just, having that against the field when they do meet their 75 percentile outcome. So that kind of wraps up the slate. Any last thoughts here?
One more thing, if you get stuck building a lineup, just hand it to your significant other and be like, pick.
That's
three
probably
players.
a really good way to do it.
And just be like, they're like, what is this? Be like, just pick a name, please.
Yeah, just pick whatever name you like the most.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best ways you could do it, and people don't even know. It really is for these short slates.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's all I got.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully one of you that watches, the few of you that do, comes out on top, or one of us, so we'll have a story to tell next week. Thank you for watching. This is Chalk Talk. Goodbye.